Good evening. Thank you for joining the Pickens County Republican Party for this evening's town hall with our two candidates for sheriff of Pickens County. We'll start off the evening with a prayer. Dear Lord, bless us in our efforts here. Please guide and take care of us as we go through this, and remind us that we're all members of the same community and want the same things for one another. Bless all of you who are at home and can't work, and I pray that God will get us back to work and things will get straightened out as soon as possible. In Jesus Christ's name and for His sake, we pray. Amen. If you join me with a pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now I will share the South Carolina Republican Party creed with you. I do not choose to be a common man. It is my right to be uncommon. If I can seek opportunity, not security, I want to take the calculated risk to dream and build, to fail and to succeed. I refuse to barter incentive for dole. I prefer the challenges of life to guaranteed security, the thrill of fulfillment to the stale calm of utopia. I will not trade freedom for beneficence, nor my dignity for a handout. I will never cower before any master save my God. It is my heritage to stand erect, proud, and unafraid, to think and act for myself, enjoy the benefit of my creations, to face the whole world boldly and say, I am a free American. Now, just to go over the rules briefly, you guys don't need to see me. I think you should be able to hear me just fine. But to go over the rules briefly, each candidate has 1 minute to introduce themselves, and at the end of our town hall, they'll have a minute for closing remarks. Each question, they will have 1 minute and 30 seconds to answer. We've got a timekeeper here who will give them visual cues as to when they have 30 seconds, 10 seconds, and when they're out of time. So let me see, make sure I'm not missing anything here. I guess it's time to start with the questions, and I'm going to rotate back and forth, giving each one of you an opportunity to answer first, rotating back and forth. And my first question is a real Republican Party question. I'll start with you, Sheriff, you're the closest one to me. Do you support President Trump, and do you plan to vote for him in November?
I plan to vote for him again.
Don't forget your mic.
I'm sorry. And look forward to voting for him again and the things he's done, and maybe he can push out Nancy Pelosi and get some other things done. But he's done a great job, and it bothers me every day to watch the news of what they're trying to do to him on a daily basis, and it's just disgusting. And most certainly I'm supporting him.
David?
Absolutely. I don't think it's a question. I've supported Trump from the beginning. I don't always agree with his mouth, but his actions are what I base my choice on. And I even copied my signs, did the red and white scheme just like he did. And so, yeah, I'm definitely going to be voting for him again.
Okay. Let's start off. So I have a couple of questions, and then I'm going to go to the questions that were sent in. Second Amendment question, let's start off with that. That's something that the Republican Party is behind very strongly, to one degree or another, depending on which candidate you talk to. So my question would be, do you support the open carry and constitutional carry that's been coming up in the House for the last couple of years? David?
Absolutely, I do, and I've mentioned this several times at meet and greets, social media, et cetera, et cetera. I think a well-armed society is a polite society, and going to open carry, I know there's states that already have that. When you see that weapon, you're less likely to become a victim, in my opinion. I don't know the numbers. I'm sure the numbers would probably reflect that in those states. I am a CWP holder. However, I don't think that we as Americans should have to pay a fine, is what I call it, to actually possess a firearm. I carry a firearm every day at work. If you see me, I've got a weapon on me. And I think we should be able to carry firearms. And that's what the Second Amendment provides us as Americans.
Rick?
As a firearms instructor through the South Carolina Criminal Justice Academy, as a CWP instructor also, of course, I am 100% for any type of weapon that people can use to protect themselves. And one of the things that I've done most that's worked out good for me is having female-only CWP. So that's worked out well, because what it does, you don't have a guy there kind of making people nervous or anything. And so as instructor and all that, yes, open carry is going to be great. And if not, you want to do, you can always carry it CWP and whatever. So I think that option should be there. But what I stress over and over again, make sure you can handle your weapon and make sure that you're safe with it, because the last thing we need is for somebody to get accidentally shot or something where the left can bring it up and try to make a big deal out of it.
Well, as usual, I get out of order every once in a while doing these things, but if you'll bear with me, I didn't give either one of you the opportunity to do your 1-minute opening statement. And I know there's somebody out there watching this thing screaming at me right now because of that.
There'll be more times for this up.
Only my grandfather said the only people that don't make mistakes are the ones that don't do anything. So David started the last one, I think. So Rick, if you would like to go first with your 1-minute opening statement on introduce yourself to folks.
Well, thank you very much. Sheriff Rick Clark, and been sheriff since 2013, Pickens County native, and I've been so lucky to be in Pickens County. And I think the most that I see out of that is the great people that we work with. And thank goodness that I learned very early from my mom, Ann Clark. You never think of growing up in the family furniture store was going to be a life lesson. And that's what it's been. I know how to work with people. I know how to help people, because in Clark Furniture, you're going to have customer service. And I've used that on and on and on in my career and my service to everybody. And so that's one of the things you never think of as a kid growing up, but it was great to have her and her values come down to me of how to treat people.
David?
I'm David Harrison, run for sheriff here in Pickens County. I am an Easley boy. Been here 41 years. I did live in Liberty for about 13 years of my life, but I'm excited to have the chance to run for sheriff in my home county. Now, I started my career with the Highway Patrol and did 17 years with them. My first duty station was Oconee County, which blended into Pickens County, so I was able to work here for a few years before getting into the drug interdiction world with the Highway Patrol and eventually becoming a K-9 handler. I'm now employed with the Greenville County Sheriff's Office, still doing drug interdiction, and I look forward to bringing my knowledge and experience back home to Pickens County.
Well, now that we've got that, I got one more question, and then we're going to move to the ones that were sent in. Just for the last few years, there's been a lot of news coverage of sanctuary cities and the relationship between local law enforcement and ICE. What is your relationship with ICE here? What do you think of the sanctuary cities? How would you handle it? I don't think it'd really be a problem here, but David?
So, and that's a good question, and I know it's important for a lot of people. I'm actually a task force officer with the Department of Homeland Security, which ICE falls under, and I would 100% cooperate with ICE on the illegal immigrant issue in this county. I don't know that we have a huge problem with that here. I know that we have sections where there's more than others. But if Homeland Security or ICE rolled in needing assistance, absolutely. If I'm off, if I'm at home, I'm going to suit up and come out, and I'm going to help. So, yes, I think it's very important, and I would support it.
Rick?
We have great community partners in ICE, and the feds are one of them. In fact, they're in our LEC all the time, and they brag on my guys of what they do with ICE and all the federal partners we have. And yes, they're a good organization. They're great to work with, and they're there for us a lot of times that we need to. So if we ever have any immigration issues or anything, they're on top, and they always tell us what a great organization we have at the Sheriff's Office, and we have a great cooperation with all of our feds. And so we're very lucky that South Carolina and our federal get along so well, and it really makes things easier in large operations.
Well, now we will go to the questions that were emailed in to us. If we don't get to all of them, or even if we do, we printed out a copy and put them in an envelope for both you guys. So if you don't get a chance to answer everything tonight, you'll have a copy of all the questions that were sent in and who they were from and their email address. So if you want to address some of this stuff afterwards, you'll have the opportunity.
Okay.
First question is from all our friend, a friend to all of us, John L. Raines. What do you think is the best deterrent to lower our crime rate? And I forget. Help me out. Who started first last time? I think it's you, David. So it's you, Sheriff.
So the question was,
what's the best way to lower our crime rate?
It's an all over how to do that, and there's several different ways. Of course, what we're doing is our door-to-door as far as out in the community, talking to people, and also, but when I say that, the first thing is calls for service has to be taken care of first, and our guys do a great job there. Secondly, what we do have some special teams, and our CAT team is a good representative of that. Great guys who get in there, and they get the chance to set up on things. They don't have to go to the next call, and the CAT team's been very good at that. And also what they do is look at our community and what we need to do in that. And their main thing is drugs and criminal enforcement, and looking at other different ways to get people off of drugs is one of the things to do. But we need to hit them hard and move forward with what we're doing, and they are doing a great job out there on our drugs. And I'll have some stats on that in a few minutes.
Sure. David?
Thank you. So I've been preaching this since day one of me declaring that I was going to run for sheriff here, and that's proactive policing. I do it now. I've done it for almost 21 years, and that's how you make a difference. You have to be seen. You have to be visible. The blue lights have to be on. You have to reach out to the community. I think town hall meetings are a good idea. I'm never too busy to not have regular town hall meetings, because at the end of the day, the citizens are the eyes and ears for law enforcement. We can't be everywhere all the time. They know where the problem areas are. They know where the problem houses are. They know the cars that the people drive. It's a very simple thing to do, and it's proactive policing, and that's what I'll bring to Pickens County.
Fair enough. Okay, so David, we'll start with you on this one. What are your plans to bring ministry to the inmates and, more importantly, the officers? This means providing spiritual, emotional, and mental assistance to first responders in the form of a chaplain.
Yeah, so, and that's a good question.
And that was from, excuse me, not to interrupt you, that was from William.
Okay. Again, good question. So I've actually been in contact with quite a few pastors in the area that are close to the ministry program that the sheriff's office has or once had. I'm not 100% sure if that's still going on, but
It is.
Definitely want them in the jail. I think that is a must-have. Also, as it relates to our officers, and I can speak on this personally, with a lot of the traumatic events that I've been involved in over my career, whether it's shootings or wrecks, et cetera, is to have a chaplain or chaplains that volunteer, that can come in and right there on the scene, go ahead and take that officer in and start counseling there until we can get more counseling on the back end. And I think that's very important. That's a very good question.
We're already doing that. We have one of the best chaplainage program in the whole state. I would put them up against anybody. And we look at two different ways that we do it. We have our chaplains at the sheriff's office who do everything from ride with us. We got one who is a reserve officer, and he's also a chaplain. And they do great work, and they are there when they need us, and they support the coroner also. And that's what we do on our end. The second part we have is our jail or detention center chaplaincy and what they do. They come in on Sundays and most of the time, and we designed a large room, meeting room, just for our religious things that we're going to do over there. So, and it's being done now. So when you start designing something that a room that you're going to use, that kind of tells you how important it is. So it's a two-facet thing that we're doing with our sheriff's office and the deputies. They ride with them, and like I said, we got one who's a reserve. And also we're looking at what we're doing with our faith ministries over in the detention center. And so far it's been a great moving ahead of what we're trying to do, and it's one of our stellar things that we see over there.
All right, this question is from Mike Holcomb in Pickens. I'll start with you, Rick, on this one. Simple to keep up with. Actually, the last guy talking is the first guy talking. If you're reelected sheriff of Pickens County, what is the first item on your agenda?
It is to make sure that we've got everything we need and keep doing what we're doing. We've got a great staff there, and moving forward and the things that we're doing, just talk about the jail ministries and the jail ministries and our detention center too. We've done great things over there we don't have any sickness in there like a lot of jails do across the nation, and moving ahead. And also we're going to start to work with council and looking at some of the things that we need to move forward. And we would like to have some more people on the road where we're not call to call. And so those are the things that we're going to have to start preparing for the future. And with our staff and what we're doing, we're going to keep on doing what we're doing. And what we're seeing for that is a reduction in crime, and people going to jail is going up. Those are the type of things that we've been working on and moving forward and doing as the best we can with what we got. And we've got a great staff who's moving us forward.
David, you're up.
Yeah, so the first order of business with my staff would be to get back to basics. Get back to basic law enforcement. Let the guys and girls who are out here working the streets actually work the streets. Have supervisors that back them up on calls. Have supervisors that take calls. That's one thing that I'm going to stress, because I see myself being out in the field. I'm an out in the field, on the road kind of guy, and I expect my supervisors to do the same. What's going to allow that to happen is that they do have computers in the cars. There is no sense in being tied to a desk anymore. I get that. I live that every day with my job. Typically, I'll go by the office once a week. And so I just want to get back to basics, let the guys and girls do their job, and provide that customer service that citizens in this county expect.
Are you saying there's no laptops in cars?
No, I'm not. I'm saying because there's laptops in cars, there's no reason for all of my supervisors to be at the office.
So, we got a question here from one of our school board members, Carla Kelly from Easley. With Pickens County having an opioid epidemic among its citizens, does this translate down to the students within the schools? If so, what is the candidate's plan as sheriff for controlling and educating students to reduce the number as they mature into adults?
So, great question. Obviously, I have a background with drug enforcement, but as long as I've been doing this job, as many felons as I've put in jail for these drugs over the years, I know I'm a realistic person. You cannot enforce this problem away. You cannot do it. That doesn't mean that we turn a blind eye to it. I will never do that. I don't believe in that either. However, I do believe in education, enforcement, and then some form of rehabilitation at the end of the process. I'm a huge fan of the DARE program. I remember it when I was in elementary school at West End Elementary in Easley. I would love to bring that back. I know that Richland County is still training DARE officers. And so I think with the education, the drug education, the deputies being in schools. I do plan on having a full-time K-9 for the schools only. And then the enforcement and rehabilitation at the back end. I think that's going to clean us up pretty good in this county. But I am very big on education. I've done a lot of safety talks over the years with high schools, and I plan on doing that. Matter of fact, the guy that I'm going to bring back as chief deputy, he's going to be heavily involved in the school system with all the SROs and so on and so forth. So, good question.
We have a great relationship with the school district, one of our great partners, and we meet quarterly to see what we can do. And that's one of the things that's coming up now. Of course, meth is still the worst here, but the opioids are coming. And the best thing that we've done is the SROs in the school. We've got great SROs there, and they're making contact, and that's where we get exact reaching out to these kids and make a difference. And then maybe we can get into looking at their home life and things like that. The school district is good about doing that and moving forward, and we're part of it as our SROs. That's our key there, where we can make a decision on what that kid needs and moving forward. And if we can reach out and help and get in there, and if there's drugs in their house or they know about it, then we can bring in our partners also, our drug units, and see if we can do things to make that house safer and get that kid out of that area and before he becomes an addict or she becomes an addict. So those are the type of things that we're looking at with our partners all together to save those children in any way we can.
Okay, well, Rick, we'll start with you on this one. This is from Mandy Wood. What can be done to provide more transparency from the Sheriff's Department to the citizens?
There's as transparent as it can be. Anybody ask anything, or we're out there talking with people, and they come to my office all the time, ask to meet with me, and we're out and about in the sheriff's office and taking care of people on a daily basis. Everything is under FOI if they need that, and everything that is open, and we always make sure that we let people know what they need. If they ask for anything, it's there.
Thank you. David?
Yeah, so I see when I'm elected sheriff, when it comes to transparency, my thoughts are this. This is public information. As Rick stated, you have the FOIA process, you can get your hands on things. But I've noticed over the years, especially after Ferguson happened in Missouri, that a lot of agencies were not releasing key things. You can get out ahead of a lot of problems in law enforcement on the admin side if you just release things that you can without hindering the investigation. Some of these videos could be released. Dash cams, 911 calls, things of that nature, to kind of let the public or put the public at ease with what's going on so that we don't have things blow out of proportion. Obviously, I'm a fan of social media. We'll definitely use that a lot. And I will make sure that we're in constant contact with the media when we do have things going on in this county. Again, my thoughts are to stay in front of it, stay out ahead of it, and let people know what's going on, as long as it doesn't interfere with an ongoing investigation.
Okay, David. There's a lot of questions on drugs that people sent in, so I'm going to go to this one. I have read that Pickens County has and this is from Lisa Carol McAdams in Easley. I have read that Pickens County has the highest rate of drug problems in the state. Is that true? And if it is, what can we do to alleviate this problem?
Again, I will touch on the proactive enforcement. Being proactive, allowing the deputies to go out here and actively seek out and pursue these criminals who peddle drugs in our communities and make the arrest. Now, having said that, I know a lot of folks are upset with how quick folks are getting turned away or released from prison or jail. I want to be clear that the sheriff does not control that. That is the judicial system. And now it's our job in law enforcement to arrange that meeting between the criminal and the judge. But we do not have any control over when they get out. Having said that, I will arrest the same drug dealer or dope dealer or peddler as many times as it takes to finally get a judge's attention to get them down the road and get them out of our community.
I'm not so sure on the stat that we're the worst in the state, but the sheriff's office has been hitting the drugs hard. Just another snapshot here, 2016, 17, 18, and 19. Our meth charges were 1,532. Our heroin charges were 123. Heroin hadn't hit us yet. Our controlled substance was 610. These are the numbers. We're hitting it as hard as we can, and we have specialized units, and then our road units also do that. And they've done an outstanding job over there of what they're doing on a day-to-day basis. Remember that a call for service has to be handled first, but we've got everything. When they're not doing that, they're out there. I was just with an officer 2 mornings ago out on with him, and he was hunting dope anywhere he could. And so those are type officers that we have, great staff and moving ahead, and we're taking the heat to the dealers, and there's the stats here to prove it.
I'd like to touch on a different subject to get most of these other questions, and I'll get back to them. I'm not going to ignore these people, but something that I think drugs is a problem in my humble opinion, but there's also another problem in Pickens County, and I'd like to hear you guys address this. And start with you this time, Rick, I believe, which is domestic violence. From my understanding, domestic violence is a problem in Pickens County, and any thoughts you guys could have on how to improve that, or what we can do to help most times the ladies and the children that are the victims, what we can do as a community to help them, and what the sheriff's office can do.
As we see, a lot of that is also tied into our drug problem and our society problems. But what you see is, from my point of view, is Christ is not in the house. And that's one of the things, simple thing, going out and get somebody and taking them to church. Don't think that is too small a thing to do to change somebody's lives. And that's a lot of kind of stuff that we're doing. And also, years ago, we started Mary's House. I was one of the members of it. And that's where we have an opportunity to get these ladies in, give them support, and take care of them, make sure that they're safe. And that's one of the best things that I've ever been involved with is Mary's House. And so it took two of us sitting in a church just like this, and we've moved forward to what Mary's House, and they need money and donations now since I have an audience to do that. But that's been one of the best things that I've ever done, has been associated with Mary's House. Those are the type things of community partners that we have to do that. When they go to Mary's House, then we have to make sure that they're going out and have support when they do that. Those are the type things that our community has got to get into and more of, and churches have to do that also. And so those are the way of giving these ladies support in criminal domestic violence. And there's a lot more to go to that, because you have to set up and get them away from their abuser and take care of them at the same time.
David?
So, good question. I actually spoke to a lady about 2 weeks ago who does a lot of volunteer work for another county law enforcement agency as it relates to domestic violence. And I think any avenue that we can take to curb that crime, we should. And that starts when the first call is made to the sheriff's office through 911. If the elements are there, the arrest should be made. Once that's done, we should do whatever we can to be a vehicle for that victim to get them to places like Mary's House, or maybe a church, or just maybe the person wants to speak to a counselor that's doing it for free, that's been there, done that, and knows that it's survivable and you can get away from that atmosphere. But we do have a high rate of DVs in this state, unfortunately. We have a lot of deaths in this state from domestic violence, unfortunately. But it's going to take the community. I don't think it's anything that the sheriff's office can do by itself. It's going to take everybody working on it towards that common goal.
Thank you, gentlemen. And I would encourage anybody that's so led to help Mary's House any way they can. It's about the only place we have in Pickens County. If there's another one, I don't know about it, to help these victims of domestic violence.
One quick thing, and all this COVID and all that is really put a strain on Mary's house. So I agree with what you do. Please help us if you can.
Be my pleasure. Question from Lloyd Warsham. Don't see a city on here, but how can we as citizens of Pickens County be more proactive to help stem off illegal drug activities? What can we do to help Pickens law enforcement to do their jobs more effectively? And I believe, David, you're up first this time.
Okay. So the easy answer is pick up the phone, make phone calls. When you see suspicious activity, report it. Hopefully there's a way that folks can do that online to keep from having to call in. Maybe it's an easier way to do it. But just have your eyes open. We should always be aware of our surroundings. And when you see suspicious activity and you think it's drugs or something like that, always report it. Let us follow up on it. Let us do our job. But reach out to us and let us know what's going on. I think that's, honestly, I'm a citizen too, so I think that's our civic duty to report suspicious things like that. That helps us out. And I'm going to go back to the citizens and the public being our eyes and ears. So let us know what's going on. That helps us out tremendously.
Read that again. I want to see if I key in on something.
How can we as citizens of Pickens County be more proactive to help stem off illegal drug activities? What can we do to help Pickens law enforcement to do their jobs more effectively?
I think what came across my mind is that, of course, we're going to do everything on law enforcement, but there's a time and a place for a citizen to be able to help somebody else. There's somebody out there who needs use on drugs. There's somebody out there with behavioral health or mental health that has programs to help each other. Try to get them into these programs. Try to get them done and be a mentor to them. That's what we see over and over again. These people are drifting and they don't have anybody to guide them. And if they come out of jail, and they're more than likely, by statistics, are going to have to be going somewhere else, and they'll be right back in jail. So it's time for the people who care, and I'm calling on Christians to do that also. There's somebody out there that needs you that can do that and save a life more than somebody else can. There's got to be people out there to stand up and help people at any time they can.
Thought it crossed my mind is maybe we need a Joseph's house to go with Mary's house.
That is true.
And going along with this, this will be for you, Rick, from Travis Garner. Would you support medical marijuana? Why or why not?
At this point, I'm not too keen on medical marijuana because it still is the part of that whole marijuana scene that hadn't been really doing what it should. The medical marijuana has become so strong, and the money that's put into it, it's not regulated like it should be. It's done through some depositories. But right now, I just can't go with another drug to create more problem in households and hurt people.
Dave?
So, again, obviously my background is in illegal drugs. I am not a fan of marijuana. I've never believed that it's harmless. I don't know enough about the medical side to support it. Having said that, it would not surprise me if in a few years, that it is legalized. I wouldn't blink an eye. It would not surprise me. But I know our problems in this county is meth and heroin, and we still have some cocaine floating around, and then, of course, prescription medications. So I wouldn't lose my mind over the marijuana coming in, but I wouldn't celebrate it either, because I know what's killing people right now, and I know what's tearing families apart right now, and that's what I'm going to go after.
Sounds fair enough. Okay, David, this will be for you first. Only name I have here is NASA. Since the 2018 Farm Bill legalized hemp products, how will you address the concerns of law enforcement in regards to testing, probable cause, drug dogs, and officer training in regards to hemp products?
So that is a big problem. in this state. When Columbia decided to legalize and regulate hemp and the percentages of the THC and et cetera, that's in the product, they really handcuffed law enforcement. It's very hard to tell the difference between marijuana and hemp. It is impossible for us to tell what the THC content is in the substance. As far as I know, SLED doesn't even have means of testing it. I believe they're using a satellite location or a satellite lab to test what they get in, and it's really caused a lot of problems. Now, again, hemp is legal in this state, so that's causing problems with the farmers and the people that produce it. So we're just kind of handcuffed right now on that issue with hemp, and how do you tell if it's hemp or marijuana? And I think that the lawmakers need to go in and do something pretty quick, because it's not fair to the people who are farming it and trying to put out a product that is legal under state law. And I can tell you, as sheriff, again, there's no way for me to know what's what, if it's hemp or marijuana, and I just don't see myself spending a lot of time going through these stores looking for that stuff right now.
Hemp is kind of low on the totem pole as far as what we're doing. There's a couple of hemp farms in Pickens County, been out to a couple of them, and it may work fine, but for us at law enforcement, we're not going to have time or even the ability to see what kind of, if it's hemp or if it's marijuana or what THC's in it, whatever. So right now it's just a wild west there. And so thank goodness we don't see that much of it here in Pickens County. And the farms who are trying to do the right thing for what they're doing has been fine. So right now it hasn't been too big of trouble for us.
Wouldn't be right, and I suppose if we didn't have at least one question concerning the current epidemic and what's going on in law enforcement and people. Well, here's the question another one from Travis Garner. Recently, the City of Raleigh Police Department dispersed protesters who had gathered at a reopened North Carolina rally, even arresting some, according to local news sources. The First Amendment in the Bill of Rights states that we have the right to petition the government for a redress of grievances. It would appear that the citizens were petitioning their government for a redress of their grievances. How would you handle this kind of situation since something similar happened in Pickens County? Rick, I think you finished up last, so you go first.
I think I've made myself clear on Facebook about what we're going through now or some other places. Here in the upstate and in Pickens County, we're making it through. I made it very clear that we're not going to abuse anybody's rights, especially our constitutional rights, so that's kind of worked out fine. The governor's kind of made it where it's not as crazy as New York, but it is trying to do something to maintain our safety and health plus our constitutional rights at the same time. And it's a very hard line to follow. So we're working with that fine. We hadn't had any problems in Pickens County with it, and I think we've had one or two places we just ask them, please do this, or please maybe just move out a little bit. And so we've been fine here. We hadn't had that problem, but like I said, we're not going to be a police state who's checking to make sure that you're going home or whatever. And it's not really on on us to check, see why you're going home or where you're going. It's just to make sure that you obey the laws as you go down the road.
So simple answer to that question is I would be, again, I wouldn't trample on anyone's constitutional rights, their right to assemble and protest peaceably. But my concern with all the virus stuff going around would be that my officers, my men and women, are protected. So I would want to make sure that all the officers have the masks, the approved masks, gloves, whatever it is that they need so that they don't get sick. Other than that, it's a non-issue.
Well, one last question, and then we'll go to closing remarks. And this was just for me. I'll start with you, David. Do you think we have what we need in law enforcement in Pickens County as far as budget, equipment, for officers on the street, that kind of stuff? What is your assessment, or how you feel about it?
I think as far as budget concerns, I think the budget has swollen tremendously over the past 8 years, almost doubled. I think that the resources are there, the money's there. I don't necessarily believe that we have enough deputies on the street. That's something that I look to change through restructuring. But I do not think that money is the issue. We have plenty for that office. And if I'm not mistaken, it's got the biggest budget in the county. So again, it's where the assets are placed right now, and that's my opinion.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Rick?
The largest thing you've seen over the past few years at the sheriff's office was the addition of SROs for the schools. That's where the school district and Pickens County and Pickens County Sheriff's Office came together to make sure that there were SROs in every school in the county. That's outside our cities who do that. And it's been a great, great success. And we're protecting our teachers, we're protecting our kids, and we're serving there. And that's been the main, over the past few years, that's been the main budget expense that's moved forward over the past several years. And you just can't put a life on the kids. And then, so that's why we all came together and do it. And that's what you're seeing is a part of us working together with our community partners and moving ahead. That's one of just a shining example of what we've done, and what we do on a daily basis is taking care of people. And so that's the biggest part of the budget. The last part of here of what we're trying to do is moving ahead and making sure that we're doing the things we need to do. And some of the things that we're looking at here, some stats. The burglaries are down 40% in this county from 2013 to this month. Our larcenies are down 29%. Our damage to property is down 20%. Our motor vehicle theft is down 11%. Those are the things. Warrants served up 10%. The process in our jail through is a 7% increase. Our team is great and doing good.
Well, since you finished that, we'll let David go first with his closing remarks. Thank you.
So I want to say thank you to everyone who has tuned in to watch this today. This is not the type or style debate that I was hoping for, but there's only so many things that we can do with the virus going around right now, and I understand that. I will say this, though, for you guys out there that are watching, if anyone that's watching this is dealing drugs in this county and peddling that poison to our kids, take a good look at my face, because you're going to see it a lot. I'm not going away. I'm going to hunt you down. I'll chase you. And I promise you I'm going to put handcuffs on you. Thank you.
Rick?
Thanks everybody for doing this and putting effort into it and looking. And that was what you see from our sheriff's office has been tremendous people that we have. They're doing their job on a daily basis and moving ahead. And if you can see that from the stats I just gave you there of what we're moving ahead with. And what we're doing, when you have the numbers that we have of where we're decreasing crime and increasing what we're doing, that's a good organization. What you've heard from me today is us and we and everybody, because that's what we have at the sheriff's office. People working together to move forward. And those are the type of things that we're doing on a day-to-day basis, because the sheriff's office is a great place to be and is serving its citizens. And it's when these numbers really kind of shocked me. We've been doing good over and over, but when you start looking at a 40% increase in decrease in burglary and 29% in the larcenies and the things that we hit, that shows that we're doing a job on all facets of what we do every day, from our SROs to our guys on the street to our CAT team, the CAT team's been there since 2014. A great asset to what we do. They take care of the things that we have to spend time on, and not go from door to door to door to car, and when we're trying to out humping calls. Those are the things that we're doing at the Sheriff's Office, and I'm so proud of our people that I could talk about them all day, and it's a good place for us to be in, and thanks for doing this.
It's my pleasure. I want to thank both of you for participating in our first ever virtual town hall. This is all new for me. It's a totally different environment in an empty room with just a couple of people than it is with an audience and people standing up and asking their questions. The dynamics is totally different.
Especially when you have to hold your folder.
Yeah, especially when you have to hold your folder and your paperwork. But thank you, seriously, for coming and participating in this. And I want to thank you both for your service to our community and to our state. In my opinion, it's a special calling to law enforcement. Just can't anybody do it, and just won't hardly anybody do it.
Yes.
So, and I sincerely appreciate it. And thank you, all of you folks out there that are watching. And we will have 4 more of these. I should have the dates in front of me, but I don't. But trust me, we'll put them up. They'll be easy to find. The next one is next Thursday. Actually, I do know the next ones. The next one is next Thursday. We'll have 2, one at 5 o'clock and one at 7. And those are for the Pickens County Council, the Pickens seat, and the Dacusville seat for County Council. So 5 o'clock, 7 o'clock, next Thursday, make an appointment. What is it they say? Much CTV?
Rick, I also asked, give a little kudos to your team.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you, Steve Haney, for being our timekeeper. And most of the credit goes to John Schaefer, our tech guy, who sets all this stuff up and makes it all happen. I just show up and read something off a piece of paper. John makes it happen. So thank you for joining us. That's all we got.